Hey folks, welcome to Creepy Puppets Presents. I'm your puppeteer Tommy, and I like to talk about the weirder side of philosophy at least twice a month. So I still have that triple-demic flu from last week, so apologize now for my voice. I've been fascinated with Tim Allen's new Disney Plus show, The Santa Clauses. I'm not going to talk much about its quality here, except that it's just ridiculously uneven. That, and Elizabeth Mitchell looks fantastic. She's barely aged in the 20 years since Santa Claus 2. Maybe she picked up a few skills from her most recent streaming show. Anyway, what fascinates me about this show is its desperate need to plug every plot hole that everybody's pointed out over the last 28 years since the first movie. What happened to the last Mrs. Claus? Why weren't the elves sad that the previous Santa died? What happened to David Krumholtz in the Santa Claus 3? So far, all these questions have been answered by the show, but there's one plot hole that, as of this recording, hasn't been explained. And yes, the final episode hasn't aired yet at the time of recording, so this plot hole might get addressed. But why do parents fail to believe in Santa if gifts they didn't buy keep showing up on Christmas morning? It's possible their memories have been erased, and that has been implied by parts of the show, but that doesn't make any sense if Santa wants to foster a belief in him. But this is the single biggest plot point probably in all of Christmas media, right? And the only story I've ever seen attempt to address this is the 2000 made-for-TV movie The Christmas Secret, starring Richard Thomas as Santa Claus. So in this movie, Santa only delivers to households where the parents both also believe in Santa Claus. But how likely is that? I wanted to do a little investigation into how many adults, if any, still sincerely believed in Santa Claus. I then happened to remember a certain story about a certain controversial internet personality. Here we go. Obligatory trigger warning for content related to Chris Chan. So I've covered the Chris Chan trial almost since its beginning, as it raises issues germane to stuff I talk about on this channel all the time. Autism, gender, ableism, and consent. It's not going to be a rehash here of what Chris Chan is accused of, or the details of the trial, but to be succinct. Chris Chan is an autistic trans woman who has serious mental health issues and is currently facing some serious legal issues. But due to being made fun of online for years by trolls, Chris Chan may be the most well-documented person in human history. In her early 20s, Chris famously still believed in Santa Claus, asked for a girlfriend from Santa Claus, sincerely believed Santa would deliver a girlfriend, and was legitimately depressed Santa Claus did not bring Chris a girlfriend on Christmas morning. Chris Chan claims to have stopped believing in Santa Claus after this, though has subsequently claimed many different things. So that was the first thread to pull, it seemed like. I've talked before about how autistic online culture tends to be animistic in its worldview anyway, so belief in Santa at an older age being more common in the autistic population wouldn't be all that surprising. I did find several forum posts for autism moms concerning their 12-year-old autistic kids still believing in Santa. Oh no, they might be mocked by their neurotypical peers. Christ, autism moms are stupid and evil. But no actually autistic adults I could find claimed to believe in Santa Claus. Then I came across something rather interesting on the paranormal blogs. Adults who had paranormal experiences on Christmas Eve. Footprints on the roof. Red-suited specters by the tree. Phantom jingle bells. The creepypasta YouTuber Darkness Prevails even has a whole episode dedicated to people who claim to have had real-life encounters with Krampus. I found the testimony of this YouTuber, a self-admitted adult who believes in Santa Claus because of one such Christmas Eve paranormal experience, quite moving. Having heard this story, it brought back a half-forgotten memory of my own Christmas Eve paranormal experience. So I don't really remember when this was. Probably I would have been somewhere between 7 and 9 years old, based on context I'd rather not go into. I had started to have my doubts about the fat man at this time. So it's about 2 in the morning, and I've woken up from a sound sleep by a heavy weight being dragged across my roof. And I sat bolt upright in bed, so it probably wasn't sleep paralysis, which I've never experienced. I live in a place where there's often snow on the ground 6 months of the year, so I'm well aware of what wind blowing across snow and ice-covered roofs sound like. This was a heavy weight dragged from one end of my roof to the other, and then over the ledge. But it didn't fall to the ground. There was no thud. And no, I didn't rush to the window to see the shadow across the moon. Yes, I do sometimes regret the fact that I didn't get up and look that night. What I remember most clearly, though, is that experience made me be a believer in Santa Claus until I was 11. I remember sobbing my eyes out in disbelief when my parents told me they had played Santa. I had experienced the reality of Santa that night, a higher reality. Why do we as a society allow skeptics to gaslight us at every transcendent experience? Of course, there's ample space in the paranormal world for Santa Claus. The obvious would be St. Nicholas of Myra, which most sacramental Christians are supposed to believe in anyway. But most Indo-European cultures had a deity or figure who was the personification of the New Year or the winter. See, for example, in Iran, Baba Nowruz, Uncle New Year. And for the Germanic peoples, their New Year was Yule, and they had figures like Yulnir or Yule Father, the Yule Man or Yule Father, which was often considered an aspect of Odin. Odin took part in a wild hunt across the Yule night sky on his 8-legged horse Sleipnir, handing out blessings and curses, attended by elves, who seem to have been either lesser gods or possibly also saints in ancient Norse mythology, and of course the Einherjar, the dead warriors of Valhalla. There's definitely some similarity from this wild hunt mythology to Santa's Christmas night ride. I have a special connection to Odin personally. Odin is one of my spirit guides, as he is to all who know how to read the runes. I'm a practitioner of Spiritism, though not Norse paganism. We learn from the high spirits, but we don't worship them. I cannot help but think this experience was perhaps Odin calling out to me, perhaps seeking me out and leading me down a path towards initiation into his mysteries. Christmas in Europe is a time for initiation into magical currents. It's a belief that everything that has a new beginning, a new birth, has more power on Christmas. That's probably why Charlemagne chose to be coronated on Christmas Day. And I'm about to begin the Christmas novena, the praying of the Rosary for 9 days between December 16th and Christmas. This is part of concluding my initiation into Benedicaria, a tradition of Italian folk magic. I think while I'm doing that, perhaps I will do a little extra work with Odin and possibly the elves this year. So in conclusion, why do some adults genuinely believe in Santa Claus? Well, I can't speak for what's going on in Christian's head, dear God, no. But for the rest of us, I think it's just these paranormal experiences of the Christmas visitor. This year, I'm proud to say I believe in Santa Claus. Do you? Let me know in the comments. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Bye-bye, folks.